everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Danielle from Danielle's Books, and thank you so much for stopping by. It's been almost 3 weeks since I've uploaded a video, and I'm really sorry about that, but you know, work calls, I've had a busy schedule with work. A lot of people have quit where I work in the last couple weeks, and so I have been working more. So I haven't had time to read. I also haven't had time to film, so I apologize for that, but I thought I would do a recent reads to get back into it because I have only read 4 books this month. So I'm going to talk about all 4 of them in this video, and I don't think that would make for a good wrap up. So we're doing a recent reads, and before we get started, don't forget to like this video, don't forget to comment maybe some books you've recently read, and also subscribe because I'd love to have you. Also, this is my plea to get you to subscribe to my husband. He's like under 50 subscribers away from hitting like 4,000, so go check him out. That'll be linked down below. Also, Bookstagram will be linked down below. Podcast will be linked down below. The blog will be linked down below. Just everything will be in the description box, so don't forget to check it out. But we're going to start with my least favorite book of the month so far, and that is When It Rains by Mark Allen Gunnels. I'm hoping that that is how you say it. This one just didn't really work for me. Here's like a up close with the cover. I went into this was on my TBR, so I actually read something on the TBR, thank goodness. But this one just didn't really work for me because I didn't like some of the okay, let me give you the plot. So basically, we're in this town. We're at Friedkin University. There's a bookstore, you know, on the campus of the university, and so that's kind of the main place where this is taking place. And it starts to rain. It hasn't rained in this town in a long time, and it was a randomly sunny day. Rain was not in the forecast, and all of a sudden it starts to rain, but it's not raining water. It's raining like goo, like globs of goo. And so people are like, what's up? Why? And so you're following a bunch of different people in this book, and like their stories, kind of their backstories and everything. The part that I didn't like was that I thought that there's some COVID commentary in this book, like, oh, is the rain like some bacterial infection raining down from the sky? And it was kind of like nodding at COVID a little bit. I didn't personally like that much. I'm not someone who really wants to read about COVID in my books. I'm kind of like escaping that when I read books, but so that I didn't really enjoy. And also there are a few different characters that I didn't really enjoy, and specifically one couple you're following, I think his name is Vincent. I didn't really like that character too much. He is someone who I didn't like their character that much. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. This is a really short novella. It's like 100 pages, so I can't say a whole lot about it, but the book just didn't really work for me. Like I said, it was the COVID stuff that really didn't vibe with me. I gave this 2 stars. There was nothing really, it just wasn't the book for me, but it could be for you. And so for that, I would still check it out if that plot sounded interesting to you. So there you have When It Rains by Mark Allen Gunnels. Next up, we have a romance / graphic novel, and that is Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. I picked this up totally random. I got it from my library, and the next book I'm going to talk about is the reason why I picked this up. The next book is very dark, and you could probably guess what the book is just by me saying that. I've talked about it in videos before, I think, but we also did a whole podcast episode dedicated to that book. But let's talk about this book. So I read this because I was looking for a light read, something that I could get through quickly, and so I was like, graphic novel, that would work. And then also I wanted something fall. I wanted to start experiencing the fall vibes, and I've heard a lot about this. One of my friends, Christy, she has a podcast and a bookstagram, and so I know that she really enjoys this, and so I picked this up based on her recommendation, and I gave this 5 stars. So basically you're following these 2 characters, Deja and Josiah. They're basically really good friends, but like seasonally. So whenever the fall comes around, they're high schoolers. It's their last time working at this pumpkin patch before they leave for college. And they're like besties when it's pumpkin patch season. And so Josiah has a crush on one of the other workers, but he is like a hard worker himself. He's always going for the awards, for the recognition, to be the best at the pumpkin patch, and he pretty much does it almost every single time. So he's not really focused on the crush much. And so Deja, being the good friend she is like, this is your last year. You need to go and find her and talk to her, introduce yourself at least. And so he's like, okay, fine. But you end up following them on their chase to find this girl through all of the different parts of the pumpkin patch. I loved the art in this book. I thought it was so cute. Let me find like a page that has some cute color on it. I keep flipping to pages with that are just the chapter titles, which have no pictures on it. But anyway, I really liked that. I'm not gonna obviously say what happens or anything, but you could probably guess. And I thought it was just really cute. I loved the art. Like I said, I loved this friendship, and I was definitely here for it. And it's super, super fall. So if you're looking for the fall vibes, this is it. And it was exactly what I needed after reading the next book, which I'm going to talk about now, and that is The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. Like I said, we did a whole podcast on this book, and I gave this book 5 stars. It wasn't a book that I was really like setting out to read. One of my friends, Kelly, wanted to do a buddy read. We do buddy reads kind of frequently, depending on, we're both very notorious for getting into reading slumps, which I'm kind of in one right now. And so we are both not in a reading slump at the time. And so she was like, do you want to read this book? And I said, sure, why not? I love the cover. And this book, let me give you, I think you definitely need to look up the trigger warnings before going into this book. And Ashley Winstead actually puts them all, like right before you start the book, she has an entire page with the trigger warnings on it, which I think is amazing. And so definitely look up the trigger warnings. Let me pitch this in a simple way. You're following Shay, who is married. She lives in Texas with her husband, and she's kind of very removed from her past, right? She's moved past it and everything. But she starts listening to one of her favorite podcasts. It's called Transgressions, I believe. And actually the host of it is someone she's known since childhood. And she listens to this episode. It's a true crime podcast. And the host, Jamie, is talking about one of her college best friends, one of her roommates, who had just committed suicide. And it seemed to be awfully similar to other deaths that happened in the nearby town, or in that town. And so he was saying on the podcast how he doesn't really believe it. It seems a little sketchy. He has some of the like police documents, some paperwork on it. And so he basically calls out to Shay, like, if the girl who was really good friends with this girl and who I've known before, I tried to reach out, but I couldn't. This is me calling out to you, like, reach out to me so I can talk to you, get like a statement from you. And so she eventually does, and these two meet up again. Like I said, they knew each other since childhood, and they basically go on the quest to try and figure out what happened to Laurel, who is the one who died, presumably, and they start their journey. Shay goes through a lot to try and figure out what happened. She's obviously reliving her past, which is a pretty dark past, and something that she's worked so hard to move away from, like I said. And so she goes undercover in a sex cult to try and get all the answers she can. Like I said, this is a dark book. It's a heavy book. There's a lot of deep topics in this. So like I said, please look up the trigger warnings. I gave this 5 stars because I thought that this was so well written, and I really enjoyed Ashley Winstead's takes on some of the topics discussed in here. And also, as much as this was triggering to me at the beginning, this was a book I did not fly through until the very end. I had to read it, and then I took a day and I didn't read it, or 24 hours later I'd read some more and stuff like that. So it wasn't a fast read by any means until the end. Like I said, I had to kind of muddle through the beginning, but I really liked this, and this will be in contention for one of my favorite books of the year. It'll definitely be in probably my top 3 at least. It could be my favorite. I'm not totally sure, but check out the blog post, check out the podcast if you want to hear more in-depth thoughts. It'll include, actually neither of those include spoilers. So yeah, check out my thoughts. There you have The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. And then the last book I'm going to talk about is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. This one I read for a purpose because I've kind of been reading a lot of hotel horror. I like books that are set at hotels. I like horror books that are set at hotels. And so I kind of wanted to do a video around that topic in itself, but I kind of ran out of time, and I kept reading books that I didn't even realize were actually hotel books. And then I was like, well, I didn't vlog them. And so the video concept didn't really work out. But I picked this up anyway. This, I think, was also on my TBR. And yes, it was. And so this one you're following, let me get the character names. Okay, so Viv, it's 1982, and Viv takes a job working at the Sundown Motel, and, you know, it's now 35 years later, and Carly is the niece of Viv, and she's basically going back to Sundown and to this hotel to figure out what happened to Viv 35 years later. Obviously, Viv, died, and Carly's trying to figure out the answers. So I'm going to leave it at that. I think that you should go into this book totally blind. It's dual perspective, and I enjoyed this book. I think I'm going to settle at, I have something in my eye. I'm going to settle at 3.5 stars. This wasn't my favorite book, but it was enjoyable, and I really liked the setting. Like I said, I like a hotel setting in my books. Oh my god, I literally can't. Oh, I'm so sorry. I really like a hotel setting in my books, so I really liked the atmosphere. I liked following the characters. It just, the twist wasn't anything super satisfying to me, but like I said, it's a 3.5 star. I'm glad I finally read it, because this has been on my TBR since we got the book back in January. Well, actually, no. This was a January book of the month pick. We didn't get it until, I think we sold our old copy and I re-got it, and just because I wanted to read it. That was a long answer. But yeah, there you have The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James, and that wraps up my recent reads. Finally, I got to film a video, and I'm so excited about it. So there you have my recent reads, and let me know what you've been reading recently. Maybe your last 5-star book, what you're currently reading now. I don't know, just chat with me in the comments. I would love to chat back, and thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!